Hello YouTube, it's Opposite Irony. I'm finally back after 7 years. I never quit the game, I just didn't really have the time to post videos or make deck profiles or anything like that, but now I finally have the time and I'm glad to be able to make a deck profile for you guys. Um, and I figured what better deck to start off with than Time Thieves. It's a really cool budget deck. It focuses around Xe summoning, which is honestly my favorite form of summoning. I think Xes are really cool in my opinion. And this deck, for being how budget it is, it's actually surprisingly pretty strong. It doesn't really put up like a big board of negations or a lot of interactions. It does have some, but not like a lot. But I feel like its grind game is its biggest strong point, mainly being that they're, ace monsters just really hard to get rid of, and they can constantly just keep summoning monsters every other turn and just keep making more Xe monsters, just slightly and progressively overwhelm your opponent after a certain point. But I'll go ahead and just get right into it. For starters, with my monsters, I play triple Time Thief Winder. This card is basically your Stratos for the deck. On summon, it just searches your entire main deck, any Time Thief spell, monster, trap, and it could also detach a material from an Xe monster you control to summon itself from the hand, so you don't even really have to waste your normal summon on it. This card's just really good overall. I think it's a definite 3 of in my opinion. The next card is going to be the new card that came out on Ghost from the Past, triple Time Thief Adjuster. This card kind of functions like a in-archetype Kage Tokage, where basically just whenever a Time Thief monster is summoned, doesn't matter how, it could be from the hand, from the grave, it could even be from the extra deck with Time Thief Redoer. It just summons itself from the hand, which is really cool. And it can also, on summon, send something from deck to grave, any Time Thief card. The only issue is that it's a once per turn and only once that turn effect, so you have to choose which effect you'd want to use. But honestly, the first one's probably the better effect to use, just because your whole strategy is focused around summoning Xe monsters, and this card really facilitates that. But its second effect does come up every now and then, especially if you want to send your spells and traps to set up their effects in the graveyard, which do have their uses from time to time. The next card I play is triple Time Thief Regulator. This card is the card you always want to see in your opening hand. Well, majority of the time you want to see it. But basically what it does is that if you have no other monsters, you tribute it, summon 2 Time Thieves from the deck, and that's basically it. It's just a 1-card Xe, and it can get you the main card you really want to see, which is usually going to be Winder and then Bezel Ship, just because Winder gets you to search for any of your cards, so you can add the counter trap, and then Bezel Ship in the graveyard, it can constantly revive itself. So it's a really cool card that just gets you access to a lot of things in your deck. Yeah, I think you should play 3. I mean, 2 isn't too bad, but I think 3 is a really good ratio. The next card I play is 2 Bezel Ship. This card, like I mentioned a little while ago, it's just really good to just constantly keep bringing it back. While it's in the graveyard, you can detach a material from any Xe monster you control to summon it. It gets banished when it leaves the field, but I mean, you're going to Xe with it, so it doesn't really matter. It has another effect where, while it's on the field, you can quick effect tribute it to attach any card from your opponent's graveyard to a Time Thief monster you control, which is, it comes in clutch every now and then, but you don't really use it because Flyback has that same exact effect, and it's easier to use because it's just a graveyard effect. But it comes up every now and then. It's mainly just so that you can summon it back over and over again, because if you think about it, if I have a Time Thief Redoer, like if I banish Redoer on my opponent's turn, end phase, it comes back, right? And then my turn I draw, standby phase effective Redoer, I take the top card of my opponent's deck, and then if Bezel Ship's in the graveyard, I can just detach that material I just stole, summon it from the graveyard, and then as long as I have access to another level 4 monster, I could just make any Xe from my extra deck, basically. So just being able to do that and constantly keep getting more resources and more Xes, and it's just that's what I mean. Why like the grind game's pretty good, because Redoer is really hard to deal with, and then like cards like Bezel Ship, like it just keeps giving you monsters for free, and you just keep on going. But that's why I play 2 Bezel Ship. Then for the last Time Thief card I just play 1 Crotacorder. Not gonna lie, this card's kind of cheeks. It's not that great, but I think you should at least play it as a one of. Basically, its first effect, it's basically irrelevant, but its second effect is that as long as the XE monster leaves the field by card effect, you can summon it from the graveyard, but it gets banished. Whole reason why that's relevant is because Time Thief Redoer can banish itself with its own effect, thus proccing Chrono Quarter from the graveyard to summon itself. And again, like, you only need a one of if like at that, and it's really easy to send it to the graveyard with cards like Adjuster. You can just send it on summon, or even with Regulator, like if you already have access to Bezel Ship or Winder, you could just summon Chrono Quarter from the deck and then Xe with it, and then once it's attached, you can just let it sit there the entire time. So it's an alright card. I think definitely good enough to play, but not good enough to play any more than one, in my opinion. And then that's it for all the Time Thief cards, or the Time Thief monsters. For the other level 4 monsters that I play Triple Tin Goldfish. It's just a really good rank 4 support card where on normal summon, special level 4 from hand, and I mean that's basically all you need it to do. It just helps you make rank 4s, and it has decent stats. 2000 defense isn't horrible. That's basically all you need from that card. The next card I have is 2 Kage to Kage. I was debating whether to play 2 Kage to Kage or 2 Goblinberg, mainly because they kind of do the same thing, kind of, sort of, not really. They just help, summon monsters. Only issue I have with Kage to Kage, though, is that it misses timing with cards like Time Thief Winder, because Kage to Kage states when a monster is normal summon as opposed to if, and because Time Thief Winder searches on summon, you'd go normal summon effect search. Therefore, you're locked from not being able to special summon Kage to Kage from your hand, because that summon wasn't the last thing that happened. It's really weird how Konami has that like ruling, but that it is what it is. But the only reason why I play Kage to Kage as opposed to Goblinberg is because I am playing triple Allure of Darkness, considering that all your Time Thief monsters are old darks, so you have a lot of targets, but you don't always want to banish them. So that's why it's nice to be able to banish Kage to Kage instead. So it's just nice to have that little option there. Then I play Super 4 Mage Hat Tricker. It's just a really good card. I would honestly play 3 if I could, but it's like I'd want other cards in my hand instead than always just seeing Hat Tricker. But it is a really good card whenever you draw it, just because chances are there's always going to be 2 or more monsters on the field, and you could just vomit it from your hand. So not even once per turn summoning requirement, doesn't start a chain. It's just really good. And that's it for the main monsters. But for the well, except for the hand trap, I just play triple effect Veiler. This is more of like a interior hand trap here slot. Like it could be Ghost Ogre, Ash Blossom, Ghost Bell, Skullmeister, Nibiru, Imperm, whatever you want it to be. I just like effect Veiler because I feel like it covers a mass majority of the things in the game. Like most decks have a normal summon search effect, and even though Ash can negate that effect, well, effect Veiler can too. And this cost me a lot less than Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom, at least in the making of this video, is like $20 for like the common. Yeah, effect Veiler is like $1 or $2 max. Like it's a lot cheaper. So I usually just like to play effect Veiler more than other cards. It's just a preference thing. It helps me and it helps my wallet. Then I play, for the spells, I play 2 Time Thief Startup. This is one of the other new cards that came out from Ghost from the Past. Basically, it's just a quick play spell that just summons a Time Thief monster from your hand, and that's honestly basically it. That's all it does on activation. But during the main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 Time Thief Xe monster you control, attach 3 Time Thief monsters of different types from your graveyard to it, 1 being a monster, 1 being a spell, and 1 being a trap to that monster. And the reason why that's really good is because, like, with cards like Perpetua or like Adjuster, where you can constantly just facilitate cards or Time Thief cards from your deck to your monsters, this makes it so you can just at least 2 times in the duel, like, banish it and give your Redoer free materials, and so it has all its effects live on your opponent's turn, and like there's not really much your opponent can do about it. But yeah, that's basically it. It's just a really good card. I mainly play it for that second effect, not so much for the first one, but it's still a good card nonetheless. Then for the next spell, I just played 2 Time Thief Hack. It's a continuous spell. That's why I only play 2, because if you have access to 1, that's honestly kind of all you need. But basically, XDs can't die the turn they're summoned, or they can't die by card effects, so that's really good. And then you can target one face-up XD monster you control, against 300 for each material attached to it. And then if it has a material that's originally owned by your opponent, you can just attack directly with it. So you can just do big damage that way. Especially since this deck doesn't have like a big, or at least a lot of boss monsters with big damage. This is another way where you can just do a decent amount of damage. You can boost your XDs and then just attack directly with them. That's basically it. I also play just because it's the only other spell card that you have that you can use with Time Thief Startup second effect. So that's why I play 2, mainly because I can have one in my hand, like I can search with it. I could search it with cards like Winder, but then I could also send the other one to the graveyard, so I can have it sit there, so I can use it again, or have it there as material for Time Thief Startup's effect. But that's it for all the Time Thief spells and traps, or not the traps, just the spells. But the other spells I play is 1 Instant Fusion, just because it's an extender. That's honestly really it. Triple or Darkness. Consistency isn't the best thing in this deck. Like, it kind of struggles to get everything in order. Usually Winder is your best card, your best bet. And if you don't have access to Regulator, it's kind of hard to get everything you need on the field. So having Alert just helps you just see your cards a lot faster. And again, like, that's why I also play Kage. It's just extra targets for it. But yeah, that's it with Alert. And then the last spell I play is just 1 Monster Reborn. Just because you can revive anything. It's just one of those power cards. And for the traps, I play triple Time Thief Flyback. This card's actually really cool. Mainly because you activate it, you target a Time Thief XD, and you just attach any Time Thief card from your deck to it as material for free. No cost, no nothing. Except it's just once per turn, but still. And the cool thing is the reason why I play 3 specifically is because usually if I'm gonna add a trap card to my Redoer. That's the main purpose of this mainly. So I'll like activate Flyback and then attach 1 Flyback to it as material. And then I have the 3rd Flyback still in my deck where I can search it for with Winder or something like that, or just have it in my hand by hard drawing it. And this can like add another trap like Retrograde to it, or I can just add a spell if I need to, or a monster if it doesn't have a monster's material. So that's mainly why I play 3. Like I said earlier, like Time Thieves have a really good grind game because they just have a lot of resources that they can constantly keep on using. They can keep attaching stuff, and their main ace monster is just really hard to get rid of. And it's cards like these that just give it the material that it needs for free, so that all its effects are live, and it becomes a problem for your opponent to deal with. That's why I think Flyback at 3 is like really, really good. And then for the other Time Thief trap, I play triple Retrograde. This is the counter trap that they have, also really, really good. Just as long as you have a Time Thief XD, whenever your opponent activates the spell or trap, activate it, negate it, and you don't even destroy it, you actually attach it to your XYZ material, XD monster as material, which is infinitely better. Because not only are you giving your Time Thief Redoer an extra effect if it doesn't already have that specific card type as material, but like for example, if it's a spell that your opponent activated and it has a graveyard effect, well, you don't have to worry about it because you have it yourself as material. Or if they need it in the graveyard to do something, again, it's in your possession now. It's not, your opponent doesn't have it. So it's a really good card. One of your main cards you're gonna search with Winder, just because being able to make a Redoer with a trap card and then have a Retrograde as like set in your spell and trap zone is like kind of scary sometimes. So I definitely think this is a really good 3 of, mainly because you always want to have it, and even though it is a hard one per turn, just having a 3rd copy isn't bad, because if you do need to use that 3rd Flyback to attach another trap, you could always use this, so it doesn't really matter that much. And then for the last trap, I just played triple Shea Brigadine. This is just a good card. It summoned itself as a level 4 vanilla, but because Redoer's best effect is if it has a trap as material, and this is a trap that summons itself as a monster. I don't know if you can see the correlation, but yeah, it's just really good. Especially since you can activate it the turn it was set, as long as you have no traps in your graveyard. So going first, if you have this and like literally any other monster besides Effect Veiler in your deck, you can make Redoer with at least 1 interruption, basically, which is really, really good. And that's not even including, for example, if you have Winder, so you can then search Retrograde, so then you can have the trap effect of Redoer and the counter trap. It's just, it's good. Shea Brigadine, I think it's a must-have in this deck. But that's it for the main deck. I'll get started on the extra deck. So for starters, I play triple Time Thief Redoer. This is your main ace monster of the deck. I know some people play 2. I think you should play 3. Like I said, this deck's grind game is insane, because this card's hard to get rid of. Because not only are you constantly attaching materials with it, like with its own effect, but it just keeps tagging out as long as you have a monster, which is really easy to get, and it's really hard for your opponent to deal with, especially because like you constantly keep drawing cards if you keep detaching spells, or you can keep just like putting cards your opponent has that your opponent has on the top of their deck and just messing up their plays or their boards, especially since it doesn't target. So even if they have a card that's like can't be destroyed, can't be targeted, Time Thief Redoer doesn't care if it has a trap, which is really easy to do in this deck. So it's just like, I can't stress how good this card is. But I think playing 3 is good because as good as this card is in terms of just like dodging stuff, it's not like immortal. It can get Kaiju'd, it can get Forbidden Dropleted, it can, you know, be Dark Ruler No More. Like there's ways to out it, and if you run out of your Time Thief Redoers, well then you're kind of just out of luck. You can't do anything, and that's why I like playing that 3rd copy, because like there's times where I could summon this card like 4 times if I really needed to, but you know, that 3rd copy really saved me a lot. Yeah, I think it's a definite 3 of. Oops. And then for the next XE monster I have, I play 2 Time Thief Perpetua. This card's actually really insane. I'm not even gonna lie. This is such a good card, really underrated. Basically, during the standby phase, you detach a material from this card, and it's during either player's standby phase, so not just yours. You detach a material, and you target any Time Thief monster in a graveyard, special summon it. It doesn't have to be specifically a main deck monster, it could even be Redoer. So if you decided to have it on the field, you detach a material, summon Redoer during standby phase, and then because it's still standby phase, Redoer's effect still procs, and you still get to take a material, and now Redoer's, at least one of Redoer's effect is live. So that's a really, really good effect. And on top of that, its other effect, which I think is arguably better, is a quick effect, target any X you control, attach any Time Thief card from your deck to it as material. And the fact that, first of all, it's a quick effect. Second of all, it's not specific to Time Thieves. So if you have any other XE, like for example, like Castell or Tornado Dragon, you could just attach more materials to it so you can keep reusing their effects. And second of all, this effect doesn't detach. Like, that is so good. Not being able to detach is just like amazing because you can just keep doing it for free. During your turn you could do it, during your opponent's turn you could do it, like nothing's stopping you. So that's why this card's like, in my opinion, really, really, really good. And for the last Time Thief XE, I just play 1 Time Thief Double Barrel. Not amazing, not the worst. I kind of don't like this card a lot, but I understand it's still like a decent card at best. So I just play as a 1 of. I never really summon it, to be honest. I usually just summon like Redoer. Like the times where I could summon this, like I'm already winning. So like I never needed to because I'm already in a good spot. The other cards I play, they're just more generic cards. I play the Utopia package, I play Utopia, Utopia Prime, Utopia Lightning. I know some people like playing the Utopia Double package. I really don't like playing that card because it's just kind of cheesy and like, it just doesn't feel like a valid win because it's like, as long as my opponent leaves a monster with 2,000 less attack, I just instantly win. And on top of that, like, not only does it feel like cheesy to use it, but like, it's very susceptible to things. For example, if I have Utopia Double and I detach to add Double or Nothing, it can get ashed, it can get imprimed, it can get effect veilered, and at that point I can't really do anything. It's just sitting there doing absolutely nothing, as opposed to this Utopia package where if my opponent doesn't respond to me having 2 level 4 monsters on the field, chances are they're not responding to me summoning this and smacking them for a big number, and they just can't do anything about it because they can't activate things in the battle phase. So I like Utopia the Lightning a lot more than Utopia Double. I feel like outs a lot more things. Sure, it can go for game, but like in terms of just overall general like usage, I think this is a lot better than just having Utopia Double. And then For the other cards, I play one Castel and one Tornado Dragon. These are mainly just generic XCs you could play. Like, you can put like Abyss Dweller and Baguska, or like Daigoso Emerald and like 101. I just like these two because this kind of provides some form of removal for like any face-up card. And this is like some form of interruption, where if my opponent has like face-up spells that they need to use, or just spells and traps they want to set, Tornado Dragon says that's cute, I'm gonna get rid of it. So I just like these two. The next card I play is just old favorite of mine. I play one Night Popple Operative. I remember pulling this card during Number Hunters in the first weekend they came out. Actually, this card's kind of old. Yeah, I just like it because it's a funny looking card. I always liked using this card, and it's actually kind of decent in this deck, considering that you can make a bunch of Xyz to attach a material. It just gains a lot of attack for free, and it's permanent. And on top of that, I mean, that's actually kind of it. To be honest, never mind. I have nothing else to say. It just gets big. It's you can't really make a beat stick in this deck, but that's honestly one of your main beat sticks outside of like Utopia the Lightning. And then for the other card I play, one number F0 Utopic Future. The only number card you play in here is just the Utopia package. Everything else is literally non-number rank 4s. So you can make this very easily, and this can out a lot of things. Like a lot of things. And if your opponent can't deal with this, then you're in a good spot. That's why I just play as a one of. If you can make it, you can make it. If you don't, it's not a big deal. And then for the last XC I play one Divine Arsenal AA Zeus Sky Thunder. This is honestly worth more than my entire deck. But yeah, it's a good card. It's a stupid good card, and like I mentioned earlier with Time Thief Perpetua, being able to attach materials from your deck to any XE you control, you can just give Zeus like free materials for literally free. Like for example, like if I made this with it has two materials right here, so Zeus can use its effects once. Then I summon Time Thief Perpetua, affected Perpetua, target Zeus, equip or attach anything from your deck to it as material. Then on your opponent's turn, attach something else to it as material. Well, now it has 4 materials. Now you can use its effect twice. And that's why Perpetua is like really good in this deck, because it can do stuff like that. And that's why I really like playing Zeus in here too. But Zeus is just Zeus. He's just a good card. And then for the last extra deck monster I play, just play one Carbonola Warrior. This is just your instant fusion target. I mean, there's really no specific reason why it's Carbonola Warrior. It's just the only level 4 fusion I had. So it's here just to make rank 4s. And that is it. That's it for the entire deck. Go ahead and just let me know what you think about it. I haven't made a deck profile in a while, so I'm a little wonky, but I think it's pretty fun, pretty cool doing this, and I'd love to be able to do this more with other decks that I have. I can already think of some other ones in mind that I'd love to do next. But just go ahead and let me know what you think in the comments. Is there anything you think you'd like to add in the deck, or is there just another deck you'd like to see me do? Chances are I already made it. I've been making decks non-stop for the past couple of years. So just thank you for stopping by, and I hope to see you again in the next one.